Today, Grave Explorations takes you to Evergreen Memorial Cemetery in Riverside, California. Located at the foot of Mount Rubidoux, Evergreen was founded in 1872, and many of Riverside's founding families are buried within its walls. You can see the cemetery bottom center of this photograph taken in 1908. There's a lot to see here, so come walk with me and let's see what we'll find. The monument up ahead belongs to the North family. It is here you'll find the grave of the founder of Riverside, John Wesley North, and his wife, Ann Loomis. Born in New York on January 4th, 1815, North had a long, colorful career before establishing the city of Riverside in 1871. Never one to stay in one place, he established a law firm in San Francisco before moving on to Fresno, where he died in 1890. His body, as well as those of his family, were brought to Riverside for burial at Evergreen. Their names are carved onto the sides of the monument. As we move on to our next destination, I couldn't help but notice the evidence of the vandalism that has taken place here over the years. Looking out over the green, park-like setting, it is difficult to imagine that not long ago, before the current wall was built, the cemetery was left to the mercy of the public. Thanks to an ongoing conservation effort begun in 2003, Evergreen has been brought back to its original glory. Here we have the graves of Eliza and Luther Tibbets. Eliza was an activist turned horticulturist who moved to Riverside in the 1870s. During that time, she brought navel oranges to Southern California. In fact, every navel orange grown in the state to this day can trace its lineage back to Tibbet's original crop. She was also heavily into the spiritualist movement and held many seances in her Riverside home. This massive stone belongs to the Miller family. And here is buried the master of the inn, Frank Augustus Miller, who ran the world-famous Mission Inn from 1880 until his death in 1935. Perhaps no other man has done more to promote the town of Riverside than him. During Miller's lifetime, construction on the Mission Inn never seemed to stop. Designed in the Spanish mission style, it is an impressive sight to behold. In fact, it is designated a National Historic Landmark. And the list of guests who've stayed here over the years is impressive as well. A few of them even have their portraits hanging in the lobby. A statue of Miller with one of his beloved parrots greets guests as they arrive at the inn. His presence can be felt everywhere. Today the name Marcela Kraft is rarely spoken, but in her day the soprano was an international opera star. You can find her by walking along this quiet path. Marcela was born Sarah Marcia Kraft in Indianapolis in 1874. It was during her time as a student in Italy where she took the name Marcella. She played some of opera's greatest roles in the greatest theaters and performed with legends such as Enrico Caruso. But she never forgot her home in Riverside. In 1915, she sang at the traditional Easter sunrise service at the top of Mount Rubidoux. She now rests in the shadow of the mountain she once filled with music. After wandering through the graveyard a little while, the tombstones and the names carved into them all begin to look the same. However, there are a few that stand out, almost with a droll sense of awareness. But then you come across a sad lament to a life cut short, and it reminds you of where you are. Even some of the simplest engravings carry a heavy weight. This grand stone marks the plot of the Farrow family, who emigrated to California from Canada and became farmers. That leads us to Evergreen's distinctive Egyptian Revival Mausoleum that was built in 1914. Compare how it looks now with a view taken during a Memorial Day ceremony from the 1920s. Within its marbled corridor you will find the name Milton J. Daniels, who did everything from fight Indians to serving a single term in the 58th United States Congress. Here is a photo of Daniels. He's the bearded man leaning against the counter of the Orange Growers National Bank, of which he was the president. This stone structure, located to the right of the main gate, is often described as a crypt, when in reality it was where the city stored its ice back in the days before refrigeration. Today it has been refurbished and is used to store beverages and equipment for the many public events that are held at the cemetery. The inscription on this monument reads, "Warm summer sun, shine kindly here. Warm southern wind, blow softly here. Green sod above, lie light, lie light. Good night, dear friends. Good night, good night." Below that, someone rubbed in a sentiment of their own. This broken stone belongs to Simon Conor Mosley, a graduate of Bates College in Lewiston, Maine. After passing the bar, he traveled to Riverside, where he died shortly after his arrival. One can only imagine what brought him here and why his life was cut short. Out here in this lonely corner of Evergreen is a conspicuous-looking tombstone. It belongs to Lucy Vaughn, who reached the remarkable age of 100 years, 9 months, and 7 days when she died on December 17th, 1918. Lucy was born into slavery in Clay County, Kentucky on March 10th, 1818. After the Civil War, she settled in Missouri until sometime after 1900 when she moved to Riverside, California. Her obituary appeared in the December 19th, 1918 edition of the Oregonian. Now she is home at last. At the base of this large flagpole is a monument erected by the Women's Relief Corps in honor of the unknown dead of the Civil War and the Spanish-American War. Circling the monument are the graves of the veterans who fought in those long-ago conflicts. Service members' graves can be found in multiple places around Evergreen, along with memorials placed by various organizations, like this one by the American Legion. Here lies Prince Edwards, who was born a slave in Mississippi in 1843. When the war ended, he joined the 136th Regiment of Colored Volunteers and was stationed in Georgia until the unit was disbanded in January 1866. Evergreen has veterans who fought on both sides of the war between the states. James H. Blue fought for the South in the 2nd Regiment of Missouri Cavalry. After the war, he drifted west, trying his hand in mining until settling in Riverside as a carpenter. This family monument also serves as a cenotaph for First Lieutenant Charles Leon Deaver, who served in Company B of the 3rd Machine Gun Battalion in the storied 1st Infantry Division known as the Big Red One. Charles was listed as missing in action on October 6, 1918, during the critical Battle of Meuse-Argonne. His name also appears on the monument at the American Cemetery in Lorraine, France. As I read the dates on the tombstones, one year in particular, 1918, began to stand out. It was the last year of World War I, but it was not because of the war that these graves are here. 1918 also marked the beginning of the devastating Spanish flu pandemic. The first American case of the flu was reported in January in Haskell County, Kansas. In March, a cook stationed at Fort Riley, also in Kansas, became sick. A week later, over 100 soldiers were seriously ill. By late summer, a more virulent strain had taken hold, and by the fall, the Spanish flu had spread across the country. Hospitals were soon overwhelmed with sick, and many doctors and nurses became ill themselves. Cities and towns became eerily silent as people withdrew to their homes. Children began to repeat a haunting rhyme as they skipped rope. It echoed the familiar Ring Around the Rosie and went like this. I had a little bird, its name was Enza. I opened up the window, and influenza. By the time the pandemic subsided in early 1919, it is estimated that nearly 700,000 Americans had died. That's over 10 times the number of combat fatalities the country suffered in World War I. Globally, the numbers are even more staggering, with some estimates putting the death toll at approximately 50 million. Today, the pandemic of 1918 is nearly forgotten, but these graves remain as a reminder and a warning. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe to my channel for more grave explorations.